Welcome to an episode of Jay Leno's Book Club. Remember, no weight loss, no self-help, just stuff that rolls, explodes, and makes noise. We're here with John Morton, who's written a fascinating book. This is my favorite era. It's called Inside Shelby American, Wrenching and Racing with Carroll Shelby in the 1960s, from somebody who was actually there. Now, let's discuss your racing credits first. You've got Le Mans a couple of times, right?
9 times.
9 times,
Yeah.
and how many class wins did you have?
2 class wins and then a third overall in the 956 with a Yost car.
Well, yeah, that's very
Wonderful.
impressive. So he's got the street cred. And this is my favorite era. This is when you could still be kind of independent and build cars without having a lot of people bothering you. You worked at Shelby out at the airport in Venice, right?
Before the airport, I went to his racing school because I couldn't get anybody in England to answer the letters. So I went to Carroll's school, and the first Cobra ever built, the prototype, the yellow one, that was my school car.
Wow.
And he came out the week, like the third day, with the new Cobra for Kraus to test. And I just built up my nerve and asked him for a job, and he gave me a job that kind of was a janitorial level, but I worked before they'd ever actually even been in a race.
And how old were you at the time you went there?
20.
20 years old?
20, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had been a car enthusiast your whole life, correct?
I had a neighbor across the street with a TF, and that kind of hooked me. And
the MG, right?
Yeah,
right.
MG TF, and it's ruined my life ever since.
Yeah. Well, you talk about your dad in here, and he mentioned your dad is a big sports guy, not necessarily a car guy,
right,
but a big jock kind of guy.
Yeah.
What did he think of you racing?
You know, he'd take me to races and then tell me what a stupid thing it was to do it. And it didn't work out very well because I got hooked on it. And he always thought I'd take a cold shower and get over it, but never managed to do that.
I always like hearing about guys' first cars, and your first car was not anything particularly exciting. What was it? Was it a Dodge?
54 Dodge.
54 Dodge with the flathead 6?
Flathead 6, yeah. And I wanted a 53 Merc. Went for a test drive, and I let the clutch out too fast, burned a little rubber, and he said, not this one. And I got the dog of a Dodge, but I loved it.
I mean, it's fun to read about the early days of Shelby because you always think of it as some, nowadays you think of car manufacturing as, you know, some sort of hospital-like environment and a bunch of engineers, but this was really just hot rod guys and well, I mean, all the famous names.
Yeah.
Pete Brock, Phil Remington, all these guys.
Phil Remington was, I think, the reason that we still revere Cobras, because without him, I don't think that the team would have been as successful and the car wouldn't have been as successful. But he, you know, he gets a lot of credit, and he deserves every bit that he gets.
Now tell us about that first Cobra, because it's such an iconic car now. When you're 20 years old and, hey, somebody put a V8 in this English, could have easily been an Austin Healey or anything, it just happened to be an AC. Did it strike you like lightning, or does it just seem like, well, it's a cool idea, put a V8 in there? I mean, did you think it would turn out to be the iconic car that it did?
No, I don't think anybody would have felt that at that time. There were a number of people who had put Chevys and Ferraris and Fords and, you know, and all sorts of specials. My all-time favorite car was the Scarab, and that was, they really did that one right. But, you know, I didn't give it a lot of thought. I just was so happy to get the job there. But it started out, it became the biggest, most important race team in the country.
I mean, it shows you what a different effort was when you say put a Chevy in a Ferrari. You know, that would be unheard of today. I mean, it doesn't even sound, it doesn't sound logical. It sounds like a crazy person talking. But that's what people did, because you had more bottom end and more torque. Yeah. Tell us some of the other car in here that fascinated me. You had a Lotus with the Porsche 904?
Yes.
Was that the twin cam engine?
Yeah, it was a 4-cam. Yeah, it was a 904 engine. I copied the car George Fulmer had, that he won the US RRC championship with. I didn't have as much luck as he did, but it was a good car.
Just the idea of buying a 904, and I mean, a twin cam engine like that today would cost you $150,000, $200,000, something like that?
This was $3,200 without carburetors, and they were $46 a piece at Shelby's for the 48s.
Wow. Now, was that a brand new engine in a crate?
That's what Auto Zipper told me, but it wasn't. I don't think it was as new as he said it was.
Wow. But I mean, But that was crazy money back in the day, wasn't it?
Well, it's everything I had. If I'd gone to college all the way through, I wouldn't have had all that extra money.
Yeah, exactly. And wonderful photographs as well. What are some of your favorite pictures in here? Show me.
Gosh, I think the series here with when I drove the 427 Cobra at Sebring with Ken Miles. There's where Ken crashed it in practice.
Is that where you hit the only tree on the
Yes.
course? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There you are. Let me ask you about it, because you were there. Now, the real purists say they like the 289 Cobra as a race car better than the 427. I don't think the 427 Cobra won many races as compared to the 289. What was your view at the time? Did you see the 427 as, oh, this is going to be the savior?
No, all of the Shelby history of any consequence is the 289.
Right.
They'd gone on to the GT40s when the 427 came out. I mean, I think Ken Miles raced it at Riverside once, and that's about the end of its factory history. And that hot rod we ran at Sebring.
Yeah. Well, they did the SC, but that was sort of a road car that was a competition car.
Yeah, they really had their focus on the GT40s by the time the 427s were coming out.
Well, did you ever drive one of the GT40s that had the 4-cam Indy engine?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Why was that engine not used?
Well, it was designed for Indianapolis. It was designed for alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
There were some that were converted to gasoline. I know George Bignotti had a T70 Lola that Andretti drove, and maybe Parnelli too, I'm not sure. But not very satisfactory on gasoline.
Did they ever race the 260s?
Yes, the very first car, the first race was at Riverside when the axle broke, with Kraus leading the race. It was also the first race a Stingray ever ran. The Stingray won because the Cobra broke, and all the Stingrays broke too, except one, and that's the one that won. Doug Hooper, who just passed away a few weeks ago, drove that winning Stingray. But they ran at Dodger Stadium with the 289 for the first time. They ran 260s at Nassau.
Okay. You know, I got a chance to interview Pete Brock. He has a new book out on the Stingray.
Yes, I'm reading it now.
Oh, a fantastic book. Well, there's a picture of you passing Pete Brock, so I will show that to Pete when I see him.
I'm sure he's seen it by now.
And rub it in. Yeah.
I had a faster car, in all honesty.
It seemed like a more exciting time. You know, it's so fun to look at this book and see cars without every conceivable sponsor, from Tide to Kotex to everything else all over the car. You know, there was no sponsorship. There really wasn't much money in racing, was it?
No.
Maybe you got tires and some free gasoline or oil. Well, that was about it, wasn't it?
Well, the funny thing is with Shelby's team, as far as I know, they took, if they had 3 cars in the race and they finished first, second, and third, they just divided all the money up, and all the drivers got paid equally, which was very little.
And what was the money? A few $100s, right? It wasn't.
I think actually, I went to the controller and asked if I had won some money, because I'd run 3 races. Right. And, oh, yes, you did. And I said, I never got a check. He said, no, we use it on your account. And I said, I don't have an account. She said, yeah, you have an account. And I said, for what? And she said, the parts that Shelby bought for your Lotus 2 years ago. So I didn't get any money.
Do you think that was a purer, more exciting time to race? Did you prefer to be a young man then, or would you rather been a young man now racing? Which era is the most exciting to you?
If you were a young man now, you had a really good chance of surviving.
Yeah.
When you're a young man then, you probably had a pretty good chance, but not nearly the chance. So the danger and the rewards were less. The danger was more, the rewards were less. Today, the competition is so tough because it's a respectable sport now.
Right.
That I think, a lot of wealthy parents can think it's a viable profession.
Is it harder for a 20-year-old nowadays to go racing than it was back in your day?
It's easier in the sense that they know where they can start. There's a graduated sort of stepping stone, but it's so much more expensive now.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful book. It's called Inside Shelby American, and it's it reads like a conversation. I really enjoyed it. I love the early stuff, starting out, because that's kind of my era as well. It's just fun to see the price of cars, $300, $600.
Yeah.
Porsche 904 twin cam engine for $3,500. I mean, it just shows you what a different era it was. There's the Cobra they hit, and just trying to pull the fender out after it hit the tree and get back in the race again. I mean, it was just pretty exciting. And of course, you knew all the legendary guys because you were one yourself, Phil Hill and Remington and Miles, and it's a really exciting read. It's here it is right here. Where is it available?
The publisher sells them also.
Oh, okay. It's Motorbooks.
Motorbooks.
Visit motorbooks.com. As I said, so many books about racing are just kind of dry. You know, a lot of statistics. We arrived at the race. Here's the whole lineup, the first 15 cars, and those kind of books are okay. Whereas this reads like a conversation, like a couple of guys sitting around talking about the old days. And I'm not a racer, I never raced, but I really related to this book and found it fascinating because most of the places mentioned in here still exist in one form or another. You can go down to the airport and see Shelby's old factory, it's still there. So it's real exciting. It's a good read, and you can get it at motorbooks.com as well as Autobooks. John, thank you very much, my
Thanks,
friend.
Jay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.